Good morning and welcome to the Daniel Baldwin Show. It is Friday, March 7th. It's 3:30 in the morning. I'm having some coffee. And I decided today, after looking at what's going on, the hourglass is going off right now. Look at what's going on in the news and look at what's going on online and on social media. It's been since the 20th of January, so, a month and a half, not even 2 months, that the president has been in office. And people are calling for his head, impeach him now. And, guys that I follow, some of them I followed because I was fans of theirs for many, many years. And some of them I follow now almost to be entertained, the Keith Olbermanns of the world and people like that just say this, in my opinion, really crazy stuff. The idea, well, first let me backpedal and say, today's show, Trump, Musk, RFK, is it working? Is this working so far, what we voted for this man? Some of the things that he's implemented, although it's very early to say, did it work? But is it working? Are we moving as a nation in a direction? Two things that are most important. Are we moving in a direction that is positive? Even though sometimes you have to struggle, after the hurricane hits in North Carolina, and these people, God bless them, what they've been through down there. Up there, actually, I'm in Atlanta. I say down there because I'm from New York. I'm so used to everything being south of me, or a lot of stuff anyway. But anyway, to look at what they've been through, it's going to take a lot of work to clean everything up. First you got to get all the debris, and imagine not having water and not having, adequate facilities to use the bathroom, and your houses have been wiped out. The roads are gone. I mean, there's going to be a lot of digging everything out, cleaning up first. Which is like anything when things are not good, are not the same as a government, the same as a business. You got to roll your sleeves up and get to work and clean up first. And so this reminds me of when we see these natural disasters, the fires that have taken place in California. For sure, we're going to have to clean everything out first, and then we're going to worry about how we're going to get power and stuff like that. You got to clean it up. So the first thing that I think that we have to deal with here is that Trump and the administration, which his starting of Doge with Musk, is to kind of do a full assessment of everything. What needs to go, what doesn't need to go. And there'll be mistakes. There will. I love seeing people calling for his head or calling for, the end of this, or we must stop that or whatever, because mistakes are made. And you know what? Mistakes are going to be made. People have written things like, because this has never been done before. This has never been done before, a total overhaul like this. It's never been done. So will there be programs that suffer initially? Will there be problems as a result of going, we can't worry about whether this tree and this tree and this tree, when we're bulldozing an entire site, we might knock into a couple of trees, we might uproot some things, we might destroy some things that we don't want to, but they're in the way of getting the overall thing done. So, when I look at programs for kids reading program fell under that program that was stealing $40 million. Okay, well, it's very important that we have the kids program. It's very important that the kids learn to read. We think that that's part of why we okayed this, what we were sold on. But right now, we've got to shut it down because it's funded for $40 million and only $3 million is getting to the kids reading program. $37 million has vanished. We don't know where it went. We're not sure. We know that certain people that work for that fund, their income has gone up 250% in 3 years. And you understand the rhetoric that I'm putting out there and the stupid examples, because I don't have the numbers. I'm not quoting an exact situation, but you get the idea. When you start looking at a system that's as broken as this, when you start looking at people, individuals, and programs where money is going from one account to pay for something else, and you find out that that's a terrorist company, that's a business that supports Al-Qaeda, okay, so maybe you didn't know. Maybe you didn't know that. Maybe you didn't. Maybe you're not involved in some big subversive plan, which means that we have to try you for treason and so on and so forth. Let's not even look at that layer yet. That will become something they investigate. The money's not going where we wanted it to. The money's not helping those kids. The money's not teaching anyone to read. So we have to deal with that initially, and maybe there'll be some emergency programs. I'm sure the president is going to listen to this, and I'm sure that Elon Musk is going to look at it and say, yeah, we should probably set aside or start a new fund to help those kids and directly send it to them, and put some checks and balances in it, where they have to report back, where they have to allocate the money, and so don't just give them the check. I'm going to paint the fence between our two houses. Send me the money while you're on vacation somewhere and you're not really going to check. And next thing you know, the fence isn't painted. Nothing's done. So I want some guarantees and some checks and balances behind this. And that's going to take some time. So in today's show, as we examine some of the things that have happened, and the other thing that I wanted to point out too is, what's the second thing? The second thing is that this president went in, whether you like how he's doing it or not. I want you to, Democrat, Republican, in the middle, independent, it doesn't matter. Have you ever seen a president in my lifetime, 64 years, including John F. Kennedy, and as I look back at some of the things that admired him, have we ever seen a president hit the ground running like this? I mean, just absolutely starts banging out the bills and the stuff that he's going to do for what he said he was going to do. Again, I'm not asking you to look at whether or not you agree with the program. If you lost the election because you backed Harris, obviously a lot of things that Trump was running under, you may not have agreed with. You wanted to go and stay the way we were going, in the direction we were going. She was going to do a repeat of Barack Obama, a repeat of Biden, for sure. She was that minion that was going to do that, no question. That would have put Obama back in the White House again, with Harris pretending to be president, in my opinion. So, is he doing the things that he said he was going to do? Is he taking action, not talking, taking actions towards the things that the American people elected him to do? Absolutely he is. More so than I've ever seen before as a president. So, like him or not, with the number of people in my social media circles that are writing, these terrible things about what he's doing and how could we allow this, and he needs to be taken out now. But this is what he said he was going to do. This is what your neighbors, me, and people that travel in my political circles elected him for. So you lost. So if Harris had won, people would be flooding over the border. People would be, things that I was really against, that I believe was a big part of what cost her the election. Not having a solid plan, not having a clear description about how she was going to implement whatever plan she had, and how was she going to pay for it. Those are the three most important things when electing a president or a leader of any kind. What's your plan? Like I want to back you. I want to say to you, you got my vote, or you have my money. More importantly, the put up or shut up. The ones that you put money into their campaign, or your business backs, or whatever. That's the people that really see the vision the same as you do. Hopefully, why else would you give them your money? What's your plan? This guy laid out some of the things that he thought were important, and he started talking about what I'm going to do to change that. What I'm going to do to change the way it is now, because I think it could be better and it could be done this way. Here's how I'm going to do it, and here's how I'm going to pay for it. So you start looking at that and you start going, I'm listening to hers, I'm listening to his. We had Biden. I don't think things are going great with Biden, and Biden obviously was, mentally not well for a long time. So that was hidden from us, that he wasn't doing so well. And so we wish him, by the way, well, in the best health, and maybe with the pressure off of him of the presidency, he and his wife Jill and he can get better. And I do pray for that for him. I do. He was 47 years in service. No ill will towards what happens to Joe Biden. History will tell its story about him and more will be revealed about his presidency and his political career as the years unfold. But as far as a personal thing, we pray that he's well and that he lives a long, long, long life. So the title of the show, as I said, is Trump, Musk, RFK. Is it working? Is it working? So 6 weeks in, let's just start with the easy one. And this is easy. If you can't, well, actually, no, I shouldn't say that. It's not easy because I had a debate with people yesterday, as I've debated them for months over this issue about men competing with women in women's sports, transgender, sex change, blah, 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 blah. If you were born a man, now I will go on to say this, and this is no diss on any woman or any skilled athlete. But had I personally decided that I was going to switch over junior high school and identify myself as a woman, start taking on, I would have been a very dominant player in any sport that I played. I would have been the best player on every single team sport I could think of in my school, for sure. I would have beat the crap out of any girl in basketball, out of any girl and they don't play football, they didn't wrestle then. There wasn't a single girl that could get on a wrestling mat with me if there was girls wrestling. In soccer, although that wasn't a game that I played, I'm sure I would have learned that well. Field hockey, volleyball, I mean, you name it. I would have been, the best probably player or one of the best. Softball, because I played baseball. So again, and I'm not taking anything away from the girls. Was I heading to the WNBA in a full scholarship at UConn? I don't know. I don't know what it would have been like if I had focused on sports that were women's. But I think you get the idea. And I always go back to this. Please tell me, let's take track and field because they do so many things. They throw a javelin, they throw a shot put, they throw a discus. They run, they jump, they distance jump, they high jump. They run long distance, short distance. Has there ever, think about this question now, has there ever been a record, US or worldwide, that was a man's record, the fastest 100 yard, the fastest 220, the fastest 440, the longest long jump, the highest high jump, the longest discus, the longest shot put, the longest javelin, any event you can think of that a woman broke the man's record? Oh, wait. Do, 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 do. No, there has never been a record, that a man's world record, that has been broken by a woman in track and field. Why? Because men are bigger and faster. They have higher lung capacity. And so genetically, men are made differently than women. Why then, in God's name, would you want to take a girl that comes up a majority of her life, trains, wins NCAA titles, makes the Olympic team, goes overseas, trains for 4 years? Usain Bolt said, think about it, I trained for 4 years to run for 10 seconds on the final of the 100. All 4 years for that moment, and it's under 10 seconds. You're going to tell me that you're going to justify having a man, an athlete that now identifies as a woman, born a man, take that dream away from an athlete? So the answer is, here's one a vast majority of us can agree on. No, Democrats and Republicans. And yet, when the vote came and Trump put a bill in front of the House to stop this nonsense, every Democrat, but I think 2, voted nay. Every Republican voted yay. So the party politics of it, because Trump put it up, didn't allow it to go through. Even though privately, if you ask most Democrats, they'd say, yeah, no, we don't think it's a good idea. That the girls could get hurt. The girls have records and competition amongst each other that we don't want that outcome to be changed because of some unfair advantage over someone who thinks that they're, and I'm not going to get into the political, the religious, it's not fair. But we can't agree on that. We can't. This one, I'm really hoping. I'm going to go to RFK first in the Trump, Musk, RFK. How are we doing so far? Newly sworn in HHS Secretary RFK vows to tackle physical as well as spiritual crisis in this country. So what are the things that he pushed, his agenda that he pushed, that Trump picked him, that we had to go through a painful process to get him okayed and put into office and get him approved? So Robert F. Kennedy sees a healthcare system where there are children, a large number of American children that are obese. There are vaccinations that what is being physically put into the vaccinations is in question, the testing of them. Maybe we should take a look at more rigorously going through all of them. And what do we really need? What are we really feeding our children? The food that we're feeding them. The stuff that's in a bag of, and I won't say the name of a company, but chips, the stuff that's in meat, the grain that the animals are eating and what's it sprayed with. So there's a lot of stuff that the FDA and the health organizations need to take a look at. Can we all agree that no matter who it is, that that's a good thing? Can we all agree, can't we all agree, that when it comes to our children, we would go to any length to ensure a better quality life and a healthier life? Now, when we start getting into conspiratory stuff of, well, there's big companies that own the potato chips that are in the bag, and they are intentionally putting things in there to get you sick so that when you get older, you'll have cancer, you'll have, whatever the disease is, some debilitating problem, diabetes, for instance. And the same company that owns those chips owns the solution to the diabetes. So I'm gonna tell you a story really quickly about the vaccinations. Now I'm about to go for the 2-year for my son. He's 21 months old. And my wife and I have, very, very informative conversations about the process that we're in. My wife's a first-time mom, and so, she's learning it. And she's, one of those people that, she's a lawyer. She gets in there and she wants to know. She doesn't want to guess. And then, of course, I have my opinions as somebody who's a father and I'm a type 2 diabetic. I have a son who falls under the umbrella of autism. So I've, because of my experiences in my own life, have been put in a situation where either you just pack it up and you don't really pay attention to, and you walk in the line with everybody else, one hand on their shoulder, following them into the clinic or following them into the pharmacy to take the medication that the system tells us we should take. Well, it's beyond that. It's beyond that, because the people that give you the information that you look it up online, the journals that you read about medicine, including the doctors, are controlled by big pharma. They are. So when you look at who funds the person that writes the article or the foundation that says, hey, here's how you should treat diabetes. You need to take insulin, you need to take metformin, you need to take, all the things that I was told. And I was petrified. I was like, oh my God, is this going to kill me? And what will happen? As I started looking at what would happen to my organs over a number of years, we're not even looking at how I got to the place of being a diabetic. We're not looking at that. And in my family, it's there. There's other siblings of mine, my mother, I'm sure my father probably, although he passed from cancer at a very young age. So I have been told, and why would I question it? This is the path you need to take. Your pancreas is not excreting insulin anymore. You've broken that. So here's what we're going to do. That's not actually the truth. It's an alternative. It's not addressing the actual problem, which is how do we get the pancreas back to working properly. What do you need to not eat, and what are the alternatives that you could do rather than just sticking a needle in you and shooting that up multiple times a day because your pancreas is broken and you're a diabetic. Robert F. Kennedy sees the game. My child's doctor, the last time we went in, said, well, no, that story has been debunked now. The journals tell us that, and the doctors tell us, and the societies tell us, and I look and I go, who says who? I'm sorry, you're quoting to me something you read from what, the New England Journal of Medicine, or the this, the that, some of the gold standard stuff. Those people, and I'm not saying New England Journal of Medicine in particular, so please don't start sending me threatening emails or pull me off the air because I said the New England Journal of Medicine was corrupt. I didn't say that. I said those types of literature and studies are funded by the same people that are putting the potato chips in the bag, who are also the same people that you go to and they own all of the pharmacy and all of the big pharma products that fight this billion, multi-billion, hundreds of $1 billion worldwide business called diabetes. Same as cancer. Chemotherapy is owned so that you're going to eat products that are owned by this big umbrella company. It's called one company, and they have 60 other, small companies underneath it. And those companies underneath it are making cereal that has dye in it that gives you cancer. Well, why do they want to feed your little kid and give him something that might give him cancer? That's a terrible thing. Well, who would ever allow that? The United States allows it. The United States allows it. We allow our babies, our children, to eat carcinogenic foods approved by the FDA. And then the same company owns the cancer fighting system, even though it doesn't really fight the cancer that well, because the journals that we get from the doctors that are teaching the doctors while they're in medical school and while they do their internship tell you, just like my child's doctor is going to tell us, when we go in for the 2-year evaluation and they want to start shooting him up with more stuff, I'm going to say no. No, I don't want that. Not right now. He's not going to school. He's not in doesn't have some terrible disease. We're not in a third world country where I can't get him to the doctor. If he had the measles, if he had the whatever, I'm not really afraid of that. We have healthcare. We have good insurance. We're in a position where if we had to pay for it ourselves, we could. No, why would I give him that? I'm going to wait for Robert F. Kennedy and some of the studies that are being done and some of the research and some of the reports that are coming out to tell me which ones. I want to know. I want them tested better. I want them examined under a microscope, and I want to know. Or I want alternative methods used that show promise and that work. I'm not going to blindly anymore do what my parents did and just have my scars left on my arm from inoculations that are given that God knows what they caused, what time bombs are ticking in my body right now. I'm not doing that. And the information that's gone out to this pediatrician is very much in play for me and in question, very much so. I'm not going to blindly believe any of it because I think it's tainted. I do. I think that this is the system when it comes to all the government. This is just another small portion of what I believe this president has come in and said, yeah, we're going to change things. This isn't working well. It's like an efficiency expert coming into a factory that was built in the 1920s when people pick stuff up, and now there's trucks, bigger trucks, and there's a new back door where the trucks pull up, which no longer makes sense to have everything delivered here and carried over there. And you start looking at stuff going, well, this is really stupid. How are you doing this? That's what we're going through right now. That's what we're going through. So can we agree, can we not agree, that when it comes to Trump, Musk, and RFK, that this guy is trying to do good stuff for us? That this guy is going to be disruptive, but the goal, what we're trying to accomplish, why Trump picked him, was because he sees something that could potentially be really, really dangerous to our children. I believe it probably is, and we're going to get an answer to that. We're going to base it on science and facts, and we're going to take a look at it and not be afraid to stand up to people that make gigantic campaign contributions or are friends with certain parties or both parties, if that's the truth. But we're going to get an answer. It reminds me of why I brought up the men and women's sports. Is that not a no-brainer? I guess not. Look at the vote. The vote was, I can't. So I'm sure I'm going to get people. And by the way, do me a favor. Please, please, please do me this favor. Please subscribe, hit the like box, make comments. I want to interact with you more. I'm looking at the questions that come in, and I'm actually doing these cool little videos where I pick out, 5 people and I say, hey, or I do funny stuff. I made fun of Alec and Steven on a video with a kid in the parking lot. I'm having fun with it. I got so many people making comments too, like, hey man, that's not cool. Or hey, lighten up and have some fun. Subscribe, follow, get the word out, spread the word that we're talking about stuff that not a lot of people are willing to talk about. When I look at the number of people in my business, which by the way, I think the answer to this question is like 2 so far. But the number of people in Hollywood that said they were moving if Trump got elected. Jimmy Kimmel was leaving his show, and Tom Hanks was leaving, I heard, and Oprah, and the boss, Bruce Springsteen was leaving, and Kim Kardashian was going. I don't know, was that true? My brother Alex said he was leaving like 2 elections in a row now. He's got a show on TV, shoots it here in the U.S. So when's everyone going? When's everyone going to go? Hey, I sit here and I watch my other brother, one of my other brothers, Billy Sticks. He's, God bless Billy, man. He really can't stand Trump. Can't stand him. Went out of his way to express. I admire that. He expressed his opinion. He didn't like him. He didn't like what he stood for. He doesn't like him as a person. Accused him of many things that a lot of people say, on that side that he did, and so on and so forth. I'm not even going to get into that. But Billy stayed consistent. He stayed really consistent about how he felt, and we oppose each other that way to the point where we're working through how to stay close as brothers, like a lot of people have. Man, this election and this presidency has had a lot of. There's a body count behind it. There's a wake. There's a lot of friends that I have. It's affected me, in the job place, for sure. When I came out about a year and a half ago and started talking about, hey, you know what? I can't do the Biden-Harris thing. I can't. And I started telling people, projecting to people what I thought was happening. My phone went ice cold. And now, listen, I'm not Alec. I'm not, Tom Cruise or whatever. And I'm not stupid and delirious, about where I am in my career at 64 years old. But the phone would ring to read for, could I put myself on tape for this cop show? Could I put myself on tape to play, the 3rd FBI guy? Tom Hanks, the next big star. And then could I play, Vinny? Vinny gets killed halfway through the picture and drives why they need to get the bad guy. And then they're after, so-and-so who's a big name. And blah. Dead. Phone doesn't ring. Dead. Indies where it's not as connected to Hollywood. I still get stuff I produce myself, my show, other films that I do, but anything that has to do with a bigger Hollywood picture, even a middle size or any television, my phone does not ring anymore. And it started when I publicly came out and supported the president. So I have to look at that and I have to say, wow, you really hate him that much that even the people that stood up for him because they believe, because obviously that's a majority of the country right now. He won the popular vote and he won the Electoral College. And he won the Electoral College, he beat her ass. So, what does that have to say? There's not enough Republicans running Hollywood, maybe? Is that what it says? Because, I've got kids that are going to college. I've got a junior in high school. I've got a freshman in high school and a baby. And, it makes it harder. I've had to, spread my entrepreneurial wings in other ways because Hollywood is run very much so by the Democratic team. And that's changing. That's really changing. Trump elected and has made 3 ambassadors in Hollywood right now. Sly Stallone, Mel Gibson, and who else was on that list? I'll think of it. Anyway, he's anointed some people to try to change this around a little bit because I think people are getting tired of it. But I want to read you something else. There's at least one thing Americans widely agree on about President Donald Trump. They think he's changing the way the government works. But they're more split on whether that's the better, if that's for the better or worse. His approach to immigration and deportation continues to receive positive marks, and his border policies are seen as effective. A large majority agree there is some waste in the federal government. And that's CBS News. So I'm reading you right off the sheet. Whenever I read you something, it's because I got it off the AP Wire, I got it off CBS, Fox, CNN, wherever it is. So these are not my words. I'm reading to you what you would take off. Because I get in trouble even when I read something that's from someone else, which means it's already been printed. It's already been, the videotape is gone. And then next thing you know, I'm off the air, or I'm being sanctioned, or threatened a lawsuit, or it's crazy. And it's not even my words. I'm just reading it to you. Let's take a look at that again. So on immigration, which was a big one that he ran under, he said, I am going to, the day I get in, start kicking people out that came in illegally. So I'm a dad. I'm a husband. I'm a Christian. My wife and I have conversations about how this is being done, how it should be done, what could make it better. I mean, we talk all the time about stuff. So much to the point where she's tired of hearing me because I do a political genre show. I mean, there's quite a bit of politicking and stuff that's involved in this show. I think she wants me to shut up sometimes. Like, let's talk about going on a date, or let's talk about what we're going to make together for dinner. She gets pretty tired of listening to me, but I have to keep it topical, and I have to stay on it. And I look at, they're split whether this is for the better or worse. Then it goes on to say his approach to immigration. Well, that was a key factor. The border czar, Harris, all this stuff. Again, he's doing exactly what he said. And even the left is saying, you know what? It's like down 95%, the people that are coming over the border. And he is removing people and not saying you can't come back, not saying that we don't want you here. We're saying if you came in here illegally, this is no different than going to a basketball game or a football game and someone else is in your seat, or someone, the powers that be at the stadium say, excuse me, sir, can I see your ticket? Please hold on to your ticket. You're getting on an airplane. Can I see your ticket, please, sir? Oh, you don't have a ticket. You need a ticket. You need a ticket to get into the U.S. There's a way we're doing it that you have to comply with. We didn't say don't come back. We didn't say we don't want you. We didn't say we don't want you to see the American dream and be here and experience that with us. We welcome you. You just have to come in the front door. You have to sign all the paperwork. You have to go through the waiting period. This is Hillary Clinton talked about it. Barack Obama talked about it. Bill Clinton talked about it. Obama kicked out like 2 million people, I think the number was. Out. Back of the line, fill out the paperwork. You have to learn English. I mean, you've seen the speeches. No one said boo about Barack Obama doing that. Trump does it with 20 million coming over the border under Biden's administration. Just ripped the wall down and let them come running in. No one did anything about it. Bust them, took them and put them on a bus, brought them on airplanes, and landed the airplanes that we paid for, our taxes paid for. Now they got to go. And America, left and right, thinks he's doing a pretty good job at it. That's a great thing. I'm glad that we can agree on that. Now, whether it's for the better or the worse, I don't know how you can say whether it's for the better or worse when a vast majority of Americans were polled by CBS and they said, we think he's doing a good job on that issue. So where's the better or worse? Or do we just have to say something negative? Here's the fascinating thing. The fascinating thing is, if you, behind closed doors, hid cameras in a room and took every single senator and took every single congressman or congresswoman and said, between you and me, do you really want your daughter to walk into a room in a sport and have her brains beat in by a guy? Do you really think it's fair that your daughter and all the tennis academy down in Boca Raton and the fine tuning of her game as she gets ready and wins the NCAA tournament, she goes to Stanford, God bless you and your family, the hours of driving her and hitting balls, and you're the dad and you're out there just, you're Venus Williams' father, and you walked her to the park and listened to abusive, racist comments and boys trying to go after your young daughters and all, it just insanity what that man must have gone through to get those girls. And he loved them and bring them to their potential. And then she's going to walk out for the Olympic gold medal and play a man? How many of you congressmen or women, or how many of you senators, without party politics, without anyone looking at you, and guess what? 99 out of 100, 98 out of 100 are going to go, yeah, that's BS, man. I would never want that for my kid, to watch her dreams get shattered. To watch some athlete that's a guy with a bigger back, bigger arms, bigger lungs, beat her in a swimming competition for the NCAA title after all the years of dedication. No, they wouldn't want that. Why would you want that for your kid? Because it's unfair. So we can agree on that. We can agree the immigration thing is working when it comes to Trump. It's working. You don't have to say, well, for better or for worse. Like, there just seems to always be something in this party politics thing. You can't give in and just say, you know what, I'm a Republican. But when John F. Kennedy and the Cuban Missile Crisis happened, he surrounded Cuba with naval boats and said, you're not, that was a tense moment, very close, some people thought, to a nuclear confrontation with Nikita Khrushchev and the Russians. But guess what, Jack? Jack Kennedy pulled it through. He's a hero. He stood up to those guys and he decided. Can't we both agree on that? Can't both sides agree that was a ballsy call by a young president? And he pulled it off. The missiles left. We can't do that anymore. We can't seem to look at and say, look, he won. What can we do to help on the things we do agree on? What can we do to help? Maybe we could sit down and talk about how we could take some of our ideas and work with us. What happened to senators on the right and left meeting for lunch and saying, what are we going to do about this, man? This is a problem. This whole Zelensky thing, this whole money going to the Ukraine thing, this whole health insurance thing, this whole, and we just keep going on and on about this whole, and we meet and we talk as men and women, as human beings, and we try to make a difference, and we try to come to some kind of, there's no cohesion, there's no weave, a little bit of your thread, a little bit of this thread, and we're going to stitch them together, and we're going to make it tight, and we're going to tie that knot together with two different pieces of rope in an effort to pull the ship. That's it. We want to pull the ship. We don't care who that gets credit for this, or we need to work together. How do we do that? Isn't that part of what's really broken? Isn't that part of what I think this guy stands for when you start scoring how he's doing right now? I do. He's forcing people to have to come to the table. And here's a big one. Tariff is more than the most beautiful word in the dictionary, something he says often, Donald Trump. Tariffs, in Trump's view, are also a cure for a number of the nation's ills and the tool to reach new heights. Most economists see taxes paid on imports as capable of addressing unfair trade practices, but they're skeptical of the quasi-miraculous properties that Trump claims they possess. So I got a bunch of material that I want to, because I don't think people totally understand what he's proposing, but it's a big one, and it's a big part of it, and it's actually a very exciting, and how Doge and Musk work into this equation. So Trump hit Canada, Mexico, and China with new tariffs Tuesday. Importers will now pay a 25% tax on Mexican and Canadian products, 10% on Canada energy. Trump also increased tariffs on goods from China from 10 to 20%. Now, a tax and a tariff are very different things. And the people, particularly Democrats, people on the left, are against, is that they believe that if you tariff something that comes in from China, so let's say it's $1,000 TV, we're going to charge China 20% more, let's say. Okay, so $200 more just for the right to bring that TV here. Okay, you, because China's going to raise the price, you, the consumer, the argument that they're making is, are going to pay more for that TV because China's just going to elevate the price, and you're going to end up being the one that pays it, and China doesn't care. Okay, and that, in some cases, may indeed be true. It might. But think about that for a minute. Are there not other options of TVs you can buy and products you can buy that aren't made in China? What? Here's a news flash for you, you people that are so upset about that. Here's part of the brilliance of adding those tariffs and the history of tariffs. If you increase the tariffs on certain foreign products, not all, some countries, a few things happen. A, what is that country's reaction going to be? Is it going to be that they raise the price? I'm sure that the left, the Democrats, and anyone analyzing it who said that are right. They're going to raise the prices. Then don't buy from them. Don't buy a Toyota. Don't buy if it's Germany, a Mercedes. Don't buy, if it's Sweden, a Volvo. Here's a newsflash, buy an American car. You earn the money in America, you live in America, you're paying taxes in America. Maybe it would be better if you kept the money in America. Then your price is not going to go up because there isn't any additional tariff on a foreign entity. Oh my goodness, you mean actually support American products, American workers, American union workers, keep the money in America? What a brilliant idea. What a great idea. God forbid you were to take a look at the fact that this country is struggling economically, that you want to bring down the inflation and you spent your big purchases, especially. I'm not talking about when you're on Temu and you buy some stupid, a yo-yo or whatever, which, by the way, they make yo-yos in the US too. And that's a Chinese site. No, I'm talking about keeping your money in the country where you made it. That will possibly stimulate. That's one goal that no one's talking about. Number two, we're being taxed on every single thing we do. Take a look at the chain. Take a look at this for a second. You make your money, your income, and you're taxed. Okay? So you want to take some brackets up your 42% or whatever, and then you do your Redis. But let's just say on average across the board, we pay an average of 25%. You make $100,000 and you're going to pay $25,000 of it, 25%. Because you need to put that money in a pool to pay for schools, highways, bridges, blah, blah, just to name it, police, firemen, things that of course we have to pay. Then you're going to take that 75% of the money you have left. And you're a young couple, you're 30, 32, and you want to buy your first house. and you're going to buy a house, and you're going to pay taxes on buying the house. You're going to pay property taxes for owning the house. You're going to pay taxes on your gas. You're going to pay taxes on the car. You're going to pay taxes. I mean, if you name the number of things, you're pretty much taxed on everything. And your income tax isn't one time. Your property tax isn't one time. You pay your tax one time, okay? They grab, if your property taxes. I looked at houses in Massapequa, New York, which is on Long Island where I grew up. And I showed my wife, because I have a young son, what does that look like, 10 years from now? Where do we want to live? I said, living in Massapequa was really a great place. It was 40 something miles away from New York City. So we had the influence of the city. It was an island that had beaches. It was a beautiful place. And the education in Massapequa is, 10 out of 10, the public schools. So would we go back to Massapequa? What would that look like in the latter part of my life to go back to Massapequa? And I thought, I love Massapequa. Let's look at some houses together. We actually got a realtor, an old friend of mine, Elaine, that I went to high school with, and she took us around. We looked at some houses. The thing that jumped out at me most about those houses, there were houses I looked at that were $1.5 million or whatever. And Massapequa was a nice town. I thought, do I want to spend $1.5 million? What's that obligation look like over 20 years? You put 20% down. Okay. And my wife's a lawyer, so she's very successful. But she's smart about money. She doesn't come from a lot of money, and neither do I. So we're both, we're looking at it. That's a big obligation. Then I saw the property tax on the first two houses I saw. I'm talking 38, 40,000. A couple of the higher end houses that were like 2 million, 2.2 million, which were beautiful homes, were like $50,000 a year. Over 10 years, that's $500,000 in property tax that I have to keep paying every year. But I'm already paying income tax at 25%. And I'm already paying taxes on all these items that I buy, gas, this, that, you name it. Sales tax, state tax, Social Security tax, this tax, that tax. When did this all start? The tariff idea that people are forgetting about is that if we tariff these other countries that are ripping us off, that are charging us tooth and nail and taking away our dollars because they can make it cheaper and put it on a boat and ship it over here, and we're buying it. We have no conscience in our country anymore about keeping it in America. That whole playbook has gone right out the door. So we're not buying American. We don't care if we buy American. We're buying whatever we want, and a lot of it's foreign, and a lot of it's Chinese, Japanese, German, the big importers that come to this country, particularly with cars. So, our loyalty to the American union car worker in Detroit is like just flushed down the toilet now. There is no pride in that anymore. And I'm being honest. So criticize me, say what you want, but we don't. We don't. My Yukon is parked right out front. That's what I drive. So I look at that and I think that's sad. I think that's sad that that's what it's come to. But the tariffs, the idea of collecting the tariffs go all the way back to, let me read to you. In 1862, President Lincoln signed into law a revenue-raising measure to help pay for the Civil War expenses. The measure created a commissioner of internal revenue and the nation's first income tax. It levied a 3% tax on incomes between $600 and $10,000 and a 5% tax on incomes of more than $10,000. So this was the percentage. Because of the war, we were physically fighting in a war against the South, the North, and Lincoln started this tax. The financial requirements of the Civil War prompted the first American income tax in 1861. At first, Congress placed a 3% flat for all incomes under $800, and later modified the principle to include a graduated tax. Congress repealed the income tax in 1872, but the concept did not disappear. So think about that for a minute. So Lincoln says, hey, we need more money. And all of the money that they made back then for the government were on tariffs. Everybody that came over on a boat, every product that came here, we said, or companies that established themselves here in the US, had to pay a tax to the US government for the right to sell to American people. That's the cost of doing business. So when you say now, remember something you're forgetting. When you say now that we're going to charge China, Canada, Mexico, and some of it's a chess game that Trump's playing with people, that they got to pay for walls, they got to pay for helping us with immigration, they got to pay for us to stop fentanyl from coming over and heroin from coming over and marijuana and cocaine through the Mexican border. Hey, do something about it. Put some of your soldiers there. We're overwhelming our men and women down there on the border and other law enforcement agencies, the DEA and all those guys, tobacco, firearms, all those guys down there. You know, this is too much for them, and they're getting shot and killed. How about you do something about it? How about you chip in and do something about it? Huh? What does Canada, and I love Canada, I lived in Canada, one of my favorite countries in the world. What does Canada export around the world that makes that significant a difference? Canada imports way more stuff. Canada gets 96% of the Canadian population lives within a 200-mile border of the US. Why do you think? You really believe that we're more dependent on what happens in Canada than Canada is with the US? What car does Canada make? The Bricklin? What are we talking about here? These are our friends, the Canadians. We make movies with them. We do all kinds of stuff with them. Are you really, Trudeau and the hierarchy there, going to commit economic suicide by allowing some of these things to happen? No, I don't think so. I doubt it. Just like Zelensky, if we cut you off, who do you think really is going to be the one that pays? Who do you think really is the one that's going to pay? Mexico, they import what here? That we don't have, that we can't go without. I mean, remember, if you can't make it yourself, you're dependent on them. You're dependent on fuel and gas. And right now we have all kinds of things that we do with them, NAFTA, and we have products that are made. American companies, Japanese companies, taking cheap labor in Mexico, making it closer to here and driving over the border. Yes, lots of that exists. Yes. A tariff, here's the part, pay careful attention now. I want to look right into the camera and make sure you're getting this. A tariff on another nation that brings a steady supply of money into this country, lowers your taxes. If we have a war, the Civil War, that we have to pay for, and we suddenly need more money, Lincoln implements this tax. He repeals it because the war is over. The tariffs that he put on other countries to have the right to sell to American citizens and do business in this country was almost solely how we paid for everything. If we tariff these other countries like we used to, we could lower the property tax. We could possibly even abolish income tax. You would have more money, even if the tariff made it cost more money. Even if the TV goes up. So let me ask you a question. You're going to buy one TV every 5 years. Let's just say you got to keep every 5 years. I've had the same TVs. I can't remember how old they are now. They're 10 years old. They work fine. They're 3K, 4K, whatever K they are. They sit on the wall and I turn them on when I go to bed. My wife and I, we snuggle up together and we watch the show we want to watch, or we watch the news, or we watch videos with our son that are educational. It's the same TV. I've had them since I moved from New York. They're at least 5 years old. I'm not replacing them anytime soon. The image is great. The technology is fine. I don't need another TV. If you could abolish all of the income tax that we pay in my house versus buying a new TV every year and paying $200 more TV. So I'll pay the extra taxes on a car. I'll pay that because I'm going to buy a car every 5 years. Lease them every 4, 3, and I'm going to pay $2,000 more. $2,000 more dollars? You're going to pay $2,000 more dollars as a tariff to buy that car from Germany. Okay? And abolish the income tax. Lower or get rid of the property tax. $50,000 in Massapequa on 2 of the houses I looked at. $38,000 on some. If it's $3,000, versus 200 more for a TV. Which would you rather pay? Wake up. Do you not see that this system was set up to crush you financially? Crush you financially. And it is crushing us. We are under ungodly amount of pressure with the amount of money we take home versus how much money we make in this country. For what? For what? Again, look at the title of the show. So we've got a guy that's in there, Trump, Musk, RFK. What are they doing? How are they doing it in 6 weeks? We're going to tariff other nations so that we can lower taxes to put more money in your pocket. If you choose to buy a TV and spend a little bit more money on the tariff, which I don't believe is going to happen, I hope it causes you to take a look at what you're buying and stop supporting the economy of China and support the economy of the US. But again, even if you want to buy that TV, you got the money in your pocket to be able to do it because your taxes came down way, way more than they ever were before. Before 1913, the federal government revenues came mainly from taxes on goods, tariffs on imported products, and the excise taxes on items like whiskey. The burden of these taxes fell heavily on working Americans who spent a much higher percentage of their income on goods than rich people did. So, to do business on the whiskey, on the different stuff that came over here, they paid more money. So because of the tariffs, the tariff price, the addition of what they had to pay was put on the product, and you, the consumer, did. Guess what? Wait, come here. I want to tell you something. So make sure no one's listening. We have a state called Tennessee, and we have a state called Kentucky, and they make a lot of whiskey there now. They make a lot of whiskey. And in Canada, they make bourbon and whiskey and all kinds of stuff, and they bring it. But here in the States, there's a guy. His name is Jack Daniels. He makes it right here in this country. It isn't back then that you don't have a choice what you're going to make, what you're going to eat, what you're going to buy. We make everything you could possibly imagine right here in this country. And when you spend your money on products that are made here, American laborers are making those products. And because of the unions, because they can get away with throwing old ladies and young children into factories, I have to pay more for that scarf if I buy it in the US. I'm not even going to begin to explain to you the labor laws in some of the countries that you're buying stuff from. We're not even going to get into that argument. You have more money because we're able to lower the taxes, because we've increased the tariffs to spend on those items. Way more money than you have if we just tax the crap out of you. So think about the overall picture. Yes, it might, if you choose to continue to buy those products from these countries. So here's what happened. In 1913, tariffs are intended mainly to protect domestic industries. Think about that opening. Tariffs are intended mainly to protect domestic industries. From 1790 to 1860, tariffs accounted for 90% of the federal revenue, according to Douglas Irwin of Dartmouth College. Economists who have studied the history of trade policy, tariffs fell out of favor as global trade grew after World War II. 90%. 90. Again, does that mean there shouldn't be any taxes? Does that mean there might be some overflow? I'm not a tax specialist. I can just tell you that the whole country, most of it, was paid for by tariffs. And you had a choice of where you wanted to spend your money. More and more industry built here, more and more cars, more and more different things, more products of all kinds, especially after the Industrial Revolution. And now, for sure, there's nothing you can't buy that isn't made here in the US. But they pretty much abolished the tariffs as the driving force to pay for everything in this country. Why? Because no one said anything about it. No one fought against it. We're taxed. It's amazing to me at all that if you pay an income tax, so you're already getting taxed on the money, I'm getting a much less portion of the money that I made because I'm having to pay my share or whatever it is, whatever the current tax law is in your situation. But I'm losing money towards paying my bill for society. Then I'm paying it on the items that I'm buying. Then I'm paying it on the property that I use the money that I've already been taxed on. Like, when does it end? So are tariffs a good thing? I believe so. I believe so. I believe that when you look at once we become more successful, and are they a great weapon to use against other countries to get them to comply with things that we need? Absolutely, absolutely. Look at, they just extended another month this tariff that we're going to implement against the threat of a tariff with Canada and Mexico. And Canada and Mexico realized that if we have them pay these taxes. So what did they do? They retroactively added a tax against us. Again, like I said, do you really think that our economies are going to be influenced as much as making them pay for the things that we send them? No, I don't think so. I think that these countries are more dependent on American dollars. They're much more dependent on American dollars. This report is from an AI overview, and I want to read it to you what it says. The U.S. economy is currently strong with a low unemployment rate, high consumer spending, and growing manufacturing. That's part of the report. And now some of that has to be attributed to Biden numbers. And I will say too, after COVID, how do you give Biden credit for unemployment when, and we don't even have to get into what happened and how COVID took place. But a lot of people were out of work. And so when Biden came in, of course, we saw COVID curtail its numbers and its evil head that had been reared. We started controlling that, getting a better grasp on COVID. And all those people who were unemployed went back to work, which now is attributed to Biden putting them back to work. I would like you to look at what the numbers were at their height when Trump was president, and then where did Biden go compared to that number? And there's not really a significant difference. In fact, I think it could be that more people were working, unemployment was lower at the height of Trump's presidency the first time. So the last element of this is Musk. And for the life of me, like I made the comparison earlier about women competing with men in sports. I've been very confused over America's take on Musk. I don't know Elon Musk. I'm not a fan, but I'm in favor of what he's doing, the exposing of all this waste. He was elected or he was picked by Trump to run this department, to try to make things, expose improprieties and waste, period. So who wouldn't want that at any level? Where is where's the problem? When I listen to people, particularly, Democrats again, who are going to oppose no matter what the president does, they're going to oppose him. And I look at that and I think to myself, okay, so, and I've given this example before, but let me give it to you one more time. I go to the bank and I go to withdraw some money. And there's Mildred, who I always see at the bank. And, hi, Mildred, how are you? Oh, hi, Mr. Baldwin, how are you doing? But I need $1,000. We're going to pay, at church, we're going to give them $500, and we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and we need a little cash, which we don't do very often. And Mildred says, oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Baldwin, you don't have $1,000 in your account. I'm sorry? You don't have $1,000 in your account. I have over $10,000 in that account. My wife and I's mutual account. This check came in, that check came in. We haven't spent a lot of money in the last couple of months. It should be $10,255 according to my, and I open the app up and it says, I have $400 in the account. Would you be upset? I'd be really upset. I'd like to go over with the manager, the transactions. Obviously, either a check bounce that came in from a job I did that paid me the 10 grand or whatever it was. Whatever it is. I don't know that I'd start yelling or screaming, but I'm sorry, hang on a second. That's a mistake. Here's my statement for the end of the month, and then where's the transaction? Oh my goodness, it turns out that the XYZ button and they explain it to you, and they put the money back in your account. It was a mistake, an overdraft system, blah, blah. Whatever it is, I would want to know where that 10 grand is. I'd want to know immediately where that money was. Or did someone get in the system? Did someone misappropriate the money? And if so, obviously that has nothing to do with me, and the bank would have to replenish my account. Now, why would anyone be against that? Take a look at what we're talking about. And I'm going to tell you the example of why in 1 second. We are paying on those taxes we just talked about. The property, the house, the goods we buy, the gasoline, the income, and you name it. All these taxes that we're paying go towards paying that bill. The taxes that we've already paid are supposed to go towards paying that bill. You don't want to know where the money went? You don't want to know where your money that went into the bank, you want to know where your money that went into the bank went. The 10 grand's missing. And you're pissed. Of course you're pissed. It's your money that you already paid the taxes on. This is what's left. That's yours. And you're going on vacation. And cash in Vietnam goes a long way. So you want to take 500 with you each. So you can buy stuff at the market and everything. They see American dollars and they go, ooh, and they negotiate with you and it's fun. And you're at the flea market. Remember the old days in the flea market? You went out in the parking lot and there was all the tents and everything. And you'd be like, I'll give you 40. No, it's 80. I can't do 80. You walk by the guy later on waiting to see. He's going, hey, Bo, come here. Can you do 45? And you're playing the game. You're having fun and you're buying stuff. You already paid your taxes on that. You don't want to know where the money went? You don't want to know where the money went. It's out of your account. That's what they're doing. They're looking at all the money that's been taken for many, many years now. And they're saying, hang on a second. You paid, and again, I don't know which one of them are crap. I don't know which ones are debunked. I don't care. Do you really believe that everything that Doge is exposing is all BS? Do you really believe that 40 million was spent on condoms in this country, or 80 million was spent on money to feed the children, and only 20 million of it came out? Even if only, and that's 20 million that went to feeding some third world countries' children. A great program. We want to have them eat. We want to help them. But 60 million is missing. To the Ukraine alone, they can't account for half the money. We're talking hundreds of billions of dollars. So if I have to pay that bill, if you're going to make me pay for the house, for this, for that, and it's all supposed to go to help American veterans and help, finance our defense systems so that we're safe here, so that no one can come here and get us and buy all this crap, all the fear that they give us, that, you got global warming and you better spend it on this, or trust me, there'll be no water left and you better. Okay, let's pay our share towards the things that we need to pay, but more than half can't be allocated, can't be accounted for? Something's wrong. So why are you okay with going to the bank, realizing the 10 grand is gone and saying, hey, wait a second, I want a manager to sit down and go and figuring it out. Why are you against this Musk guy? I don't care what he does. I don't care anything about just the job. Just the job. I don't know what he does in his personal life. Excuse me. I don't care. The job that he's doing is to get people to have to step up and admit and say what they did and go through it to fine tune this and trim all this waste. Again, why? Because if we could trim that waste, if we could get rid of, even if it wasn't the astronomical numbers we're saying, if we could lower the debt and lower the expenditures by 20%, 20% a year, do you know what that would translate to in savings to the country and lowering taxes and lowering the demand? And I mean, it's incredible the numbers we're talking about. And exposing people that have been ripping us off that we need to get them out of the CEO situation and companies that fully knew that they were ripping off tax dollars with programs that weren't actually happening. I mean, we can go on the layers and layers, but I'm interested in knowing why you don't think that's good. I want to have you write in. I want to have you put your question in, do video questions if you want to. I will try to get to them and I will answer back to you. Hey, I'll tell you why. Somebody said to me the other day, I did a Patrick Bet-David show, and I wore a Balenciaga shirt. It was a shirt that was given to me as a gift. And just right here it said Balenciaga. And I got, well, does he not know that there was a pedophile charges against, and so this one guy goes, what do you live under a rock? And I went, I had no idea. No, I didn't know that. I didn't hear anything about it. I don't spend my life looking at what the fashion artists are doing. It's a shirt that I've had for 5 years. That's about the last time I got a designer shirt. So no, I didn't know that. No. Okay. So I'm really fascinated how you oppose this guy and what he's trying to do. So is he doing a good job so far? Yes, he is. He's got you all scared. He's got you all talking. He's exposing incredible amounts of waste, hundreds of billions of dollars, and he's got a conversation going on that's shaking up the system right now. So you know what? Yes, it's broken, and it's going to hurt to fix it. It's going to literally hurt. It's like breaking your wrist and then it getting set the wrong way and you wrapped it up, and then they come in, the doctor looks and goes, I got to re-break that. And then I got to push it together the right way, and I got to put a mesh thing around it and a couple screws, and then eventually it's going to heal okay. But yeah, no, this heads up, we're going to give you a little something to numb the pain. This is going to hurt. It's going to hurt to fix it. And so we're going through some of the pains of this right now as a country. And the people that oppose it, remember I told you I'll get to it in 1 minute or a second or whatever I said earlier. It was a lot longer than that, wasn't it? Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, it was longer, okay? The only people that oppose it are people that are part of it. The only people, or the naive to think that they're buying the message that's being sent out about how bad this is, how dangerous it is, all the bad that's being done. You're hearing that from news outlets and people that are going to lose money. People that have been eating off this plate for a long, long time. The people that oppose what he's doing and what Doge is doing and what the president is trying to do are the people that eat off that plate and benefit from it. And they're financing the press to get you, the sheep, you, the sheep that are fed the grain that's sprayed with the chemicals and then led to slaughter. You're buying it. And because you're buying it, they're selling it. And they've been making money selling it for a long, long time. No, the president is doing an exemplary job. He's doing a great job because he's doing everything he promised he was going to do. RFK is slaying it. We're seeing it happen right now. And Elon Musk, he's exposing it. On a side note, show's going a little long and I don't care. U.S.-Ukraine talks will be held in Saudi Arabia next week. President Vladimir Zelensky has said, expressing hopes that it will be a meaningful meeting. The Ukrainian leader, who will be in the Gulf Kingdom, but not take part in the talks, said Kiev was working to reach a fast and lasting peace. Well, surprise, surprise, Zelensky opened his mouth in the White House, uttered swear words at J.D. Vance and the president, and again, didn't wear a tie, but came there trying to tell the U.S. how they were going to feel. And in almost a threat, or not almost a threat, in a bit of a threatening way, promised that the influence and so on. Okay, well, now his money got cut off. Shocking that he left now. Now, if I was somewhere where I was insulted and the way this is being played on the left, and the way this is being played in some of the press outlets, no, this is going to force this guy to come to the table and to bargain properly. And let's look at exactly what's really happened in the region, why Putin's government was put in a situation where, having a NATO outlet in the Ukraine, which the last, I believe, 3 times Russia has been invaded, all came through the Ukraine. He couldn't possibly allow that to happen. So, like I said before, when it was the Cuban Missile Crisis and JFK circled Cuba in a threatening manner to Castro, proximity of troops, weapons, planes, aircraft carriers, bombs, all right around the island of Cuba. That wasn't we didn't see anybody do that right now. No, I don't agree with what Putin did. I don't agree. I think there was diplomatic ways. I think there were other ways to probably have pursued this. But I can see how threatened the Russians felt after promises through the Clinton administration, after promises that have been made countless times have been broken by the U.S. and by NATO members against Russia. So let's just sit down with them now. Let's just sit down. Russia, the representatives, U.S., Ukrainian, and figure this out. And they're going to. Trump will deliver peace. He will be a part of the peace vehicle that takes place in the Ukraine. Hopefully that will happen sooner than later. And I'm going to close because I think I covered RFK. Trump and Musk, RFK, and all of it fall under Trump. I think the guy's doing amazing, as far as unprecedented, the amount of stuff that he's been able to get done. But I want to read this to you because this is something you very rarely ever see. And this is what humanizes it for me. And this is what makes me like Musk's position more. Elon Musk defended himself to a room full of House Republicans on Wednesday night, saying that he can't bat 1,000 all the time, according to 4 people present for his remarks. But he also promised to work to correct mistakes amid the Department of Government Efficiency's slash and burn operation across the federal government. You can't bet 1,000 all the time. You can't hit a home run every time. You can't get a hit every time you get up. Sometimes you ground out. Sometimes you pop out. Sometimes you make an error in the field. Sometimes. The fact that he comes to the table and says, man, I'm trying, and on the ones that I see, maybe slashing that wasn't the greatest thing to do, or maybe slashing the whole department, we should have reacted quicker. This has never been done before. This has never been done before. So no one's looked at this for 100 and something years, really taking care of a full overhaul of the system and tracking the money. So yes, like I said earlier on, there's going to be some reading program that fell under the umbrella of the 40 million that's missing that we look at and we go, well, that's a shame. They're going to close that center. We'll reopen it. We'll get it done right. Not everything is going to be perfect about it. So if you're looking for trouble, if you're looking for those things compared to the $100 billion that's going to be saved, and they're going to pick out 40 million that didn't go right, or 100 million. 100 billion, 100 million. Yes, there's going to be stuff that we're going to have to look at, emergency funding and changing things around. But all in all, this is going great. This is going exactly the way he planned it, and exactly the reason why you voted for him and made him president. So, once again, I hate leaving and having you think, do I think everything Donald Trump has done has been absolutely perfect? No, no, no. I could get in there and I could speak with the president in private about things, about how it's delivered, and maybe how we could do things a little more smoothly. And maybe we start a backup to Doge 2, which looks and does a finer tooth combing when we slash it of the emergency entities that should be funded right away that are falling by the wayside as a result of his having to shut down the whole. You can't shut down part of a department. That's the problem. But if we have a fund that addresses the immediacy of inner city youth food programs, blah, 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 and that gets cut from a bigger piece, we go, you know what? We have a slush fund here of, $5 billion. We can send hundreds of billions of dollars to the Ukraine. We have a homeless veterans program that's in this budget, and we're cutting that whole budget or freezing that whole budget for right now because it looks like a lot of that money was being misappropriated. Let's siphon off and make sure that we have a department or do something. Those are the things that I could talk to the president about. Yeah. There might be some things that we could work on together. So no, I don't think that everything he does is perfect. I don't think he thinks everything he does is perfect. I don't think you think everything he does is perfect. But is it overall doing a good job? Is Trump, Musk, and JFK working so far? You bet your ass it is, America. It's working. It's working well. Well, I've gone long, and I am going to put out there, please, if you could you please subscribe, get word out about the show, because we're trying to do some bigger and better things with the show. We want to bring guests in. We're going to put a couple of monitors up. We're going to have call-ins, and I want to be able to send you more videos. So I need questions. Please send me questions. And listen, I'm wide open to, questions that don't agree with me, questions that you need more of an explanation for, and topics that you want to do. A lot of stuff has been in the news. I'd like to know this. I'm going to ask you this. Should I do a show on the moon landing? A lot of stuff has come in that this is making all kinds of news lately and getting a lot of attention. So do you want to see a show specifically on the moon landing? Is that something that you'd be interested in? Because I have done a lot of research already and I could do a pretty cool show on it. But I want to know if you want to see that. So hit subscribe, hit like, get the word out to everybody. And we are going to close this show as I do every show I do. If you're not a fan of prayer, then this is time to turn off the monitor or however you're watching it, because I'm going to pray. I owe a great tab to my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. So here we go. Lord, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to do this show, to reach out to America and beyond, to people who are like-minded, who love you, Jesus. In your name, we live our lives and we give our faith, and we have turned it over to you so that we can show you, God, our worthiness and how much we appreciate your guidance, our health, everything that we have, Lord, we owe because of your great sacrifice that you make for us. You are our King, and we love you so much. In your name we pray, amen. Jesus is Lord, my friends, and how much better do you get than ending a show acknowledging Jesus Christ? Wow. I feel so blessed. God bless you guys. I will see you on Monday. Have a great weekend.